And then we looked into those activities in the days of Noah and what the scriptures compared the activities with. These were activities that were caused by devils, demons. The other day I was referring to the World Economic Forum, one of those groups spearheading, because sometimes the people who don't understand what's going on, one of those groups spearheading this wickedness around the world in the guise of helping the nations. They're not helping the nations. The man that leads the group, you know, I don't like mentioning names, but when it is so open and everybody knows it, doesn't matter. Klaus Schwab, who is the chairman or president or founder of the World Economic Forum, he is a transhumanist. I've studied his materials, so I know what I'm talking about. He's a transhumanist. Now, you say, who is a transhumanist? Now, a transhumanist is someone who propagates the doctrine of transhumanism, which is the term that is given to human enhancement. Okay? And this human enhancement is done through nano-biotechnological processes. So that's what they believe in. And so they expect a change of human persons. So we become superhuman, okay, through these processes I just explained to you. So you're looking at transhumanism to posthumanism. And here is where it gets really horrible. Jesus came to save humans and to make them like himself. Not for them to be created or recreated in man's design or after man's design, but only after God. You see, you got to understand what the Bible tells us. For those of you who might be thinking that what they're doing might just be nice after all. No, it cannot be nice. Look at Ephesians chapter 4, verse 24. I'd like to read it to you from verse 23 so you can tie this together. And be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man, the new nature. When you're born again, you become a new person. If any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Okay? So he says, wear that new nature. In other words, let that be the expression of your life. And that you put on the new man, which after God, you see that? after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. That means in the image of God. Let me read to you from the Amplified Translation. And put on the new nature, the regenerate self, created in God's image, godlike, in true righteousness and holiness. So the recreation of the human in Christ Jesus is in true righteousness and holiness. Now, how can unholy men reproduce such a person? They can't. So the transhumanism that you're looking at into posthumanism is a process for demonic manifestations around the world. You're not going to have a righteous person among them because there's no righteousness in the process. So what are you going to have? He already told you. He already told you in Revelation chapter 13. From verse 11. First, he'd already told us about the beast, the Antichrist. He goes on to tell us about another beast. Okay? In verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. 2 horns like a lamb, like a goat. See, I told you about that sign, that lamb sign. And he spake as a lamb, as a dragon, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Now, that heaven is not where God lives. It's not the abode of God and angels. No, he's talking about the heavenlies, okay? And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Think about this. He was doing supernatural things, extraordinary things. And this is what they're trying to get the world to believe. So when you become this post-human, this superhuman that they're trying to create, you do big things, you do mighty things. These are the promises. You're going to do extraordinary things. Okay? And so he demonstrates this before the beast. And then, look what he does here. Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live, the Antichrist. And he had power, verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And we're talking about worship here. We're talking about a world religion, a one world religion. And yesterday, I explained to you what's happening in Europe, the EU government leaders asking people to believe in science, which I find really crazy because only a few years ago, they were attacking belief. Why do you believe? And the age-old argument of many worldly scientists has been that science is fact and it's based on evidence. You don't have to believe. So why now are they asking you to believe in science? Proof positive, they are not practicing science right now. And this is true because they got no evidence. no evidence. It's not based on facts. So they're trying to tell people to believe. And the moment you're telling them to believe, it means believe in what you don't see and what you can perceive with your senses. And what's that? Faith. Believe is the verb of the word faith. Say, it's the verb of faith. Faith is a noun. Believe is a verb. They come from the same word. See, so this is very important. Very, very important. Now, look at what it tells us in verse 15. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So compulsory worship. You're going to have to believe in science. If you don't believe in science, then you're ostracized. You cannot be a part of us. There's where the world's going. So they're going to create a god of science, falsely so-called pseudoscience. And I remember sharing with you what the Bible tells us about pseudoscience. And that's where they're going. So this is not science, it's pseudoscience. And you that might be thinking differently, why don't you do a study? Why don't you do a research?